Welcome to Parents Make a Difference. I'm your host, Josie PV. Does your child have an issue that they're working on? Are they anxious? Do they stutter? Or maybe there's a learning disability going on. And you're feeling that because of this, so many doors of opportunities are closed. Today's guest might help you to see that this is not the case. My guest, Miro, had a stuttering problem from a very young age, but that didn't stop him. Guess what profession he got into? Sales. He got into sales and did very well for himself. He's even laughing. He didn't let obstacles stop him. I'd like to welcome Miro to Parents Make a Difference. Miro,
Thank you, Joycey.
Your full
Thanks
name.
a lot.
Sorry, how do you say your last name?
Mutafchiev.
Miro Mutafchiev.
Yeah, it's one of those difficult European names, right?
It's great to have you here. I would love for you to share your story, because when I heard it, I thought, oh, this story inspires me. I mean, you were struggling. You shared how you were struggling with stuttering. Can you help us to see how you were living your life?
Well, it just happened when I was the age of 5, I believe. I was chasing a butterfly, and I never noticed that I'm at the bank of the river, and I just inevitably jumped into it. I didn't know how to swim. I was afraid from the water, and all of a sudden, the water came up to my neck, and I saw a water snake coming towards me, and I just freaked out. So there was a lady that was nearby, and instead of coming and help me to take me out of the water, she runs to call my father, and the current was taking me down. So luckily there was a root of a tree that I grabbed, and I pulled myself up. And here comes my father towards me, and I was hoping that he's gonna hug me, he's gonna be be happy that I'm safe. All of a sudden I get spanked. That's old European tradition.
Yeah.
Right, and later we noticed that I have difficulties of talking. So from the stress, from the moment that fall in the water, I couldn't talk anymore.
Wow.
I wanted to say something, and I couldn't. So my parents took me to those gypsies that they were doing those black magics. We went to all the doctors. Nothing helped. So here comes the school. Back in old days, you don't have a multiple choice. You don't have those A, B, C, D that you have to scratch. You have to get up and start to talk. Geography, literature, chemistry, biology, all of those subjects, you have to start and talk. And the most unfortunate moments for me was when I knew that I'm going to stutter in some of the words. I was trying to find some other words to just replace it. And then sometimes the sentence was losing its meaning. But I'd rather have that than some cracking laughter in at the back of the room that when I start to stutter. It's kids, it's cool. Later when we start to get to know each other, things were a bit different, but still, that stuttering, in my opinion, deprived me of having my first experience of being in love with the girl of the lower classes, because I liked her, she liked me. I wanted to tell her that I really wanted to be with her and see her, but every time I see her in the corridors, something was grabbing my throat, and I couldn't say anything, just smile. That was the only thing that I could do without exposing my inability to speak flawlessly. Eventually the whole school find about it. I become a laughing stock for them.
Really?
And
A lot of
as the
people
time
didn't
passed
laugh.
me by,
This is
yeah,
all
I mean,
elementary school, even high school?
yeah, that was in the high school. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's well, not to my friends, of course, to some people that didn't know me, but it just affected my self-esteem because I was avoiding contacts. I had a request to have a girlfriend back in the days, but I was avoiding those just because I didn't want them to know that I stutter. That was probably one of the reason why I get into the love business at the very late stage.
How old were you when you met Stefka, your wife?
Oh, I was 23 years of age.
And
21,
that
sorry.
wasn't easy either.
21. I knew her a few years before that. A friend of mine took me to the gym to introduce me to her, but she was a high society. So at that time, I had a girlfriend or maybe two, and I said,
Hmm.
"Wait a minute. I mean, she's really nice, very sweet, but I don't feel myself being in that environment in that society. Her father was a leading doctor in the city, and her mom was the founder of gymnastics in Bulgaria. So we were coming from a working family. You know, it was the gap was too much to bear, and that's why I completely ignored that. So, you know, back home, there was a mandatory 2 years military service, which at the end of the second year, I found out that I shouldn't have been going there at all, but that was just my luck. I started training karate in the next gym next to my wife. So the same person who introduced me to her a few years ago, he said, "Do you know who is the next door here?" I said, "Who?" "Well, Stephanie." I said, "Stephanie, who?" "Well, remember that gymnastic coach, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Yeah, okay. So, well, do you want to get out and go to the bar tonight? I want to be with her colleagues. So if you can keep a company to Stephanie in the meanwhile, that will be great." So I said, "Okay, for you." And that was my best friend, right? I said, "For you, I'll do anything." And this is how it started. So after the military service, even the doctor said that it's going to be a lot easier. That stuttering is going to be more mellow. In the meanwhile, I went a few times to the sanatoriums, and even when I was in the military, they sent me once again. So I would say 3 times. The first time was just exploring, you know, not really keeping, you know, everything what they're saying. The second time was I was more following the procedures, and the third time was that when I really wanted to try and to make a difference, so I could cure myself. But it did help for a while, and then it comes back again because you're in a closed environment with other individuals that they suffer the same stutter, even a lot worse than mine. So when you're listening to them, you kind of get back into the groove, so to speak.
Right. You're
Um,
surrounding yourself with that stuttering, and it kind of reminds
yeah.
you, and you just,
Well, there is a technique. You know, you have to speak slow. You have to take a deep breath. So if you follow that, you know, we live very fast paced, you know, life. So nobody is going to wait 5 minutes to say five, you know, sentence. So you got to try to spit it out.
hmm. Well, you're doing
Yeah.
well now.
Well, English is a kind of a more softer language. The vocabulary is softer than my home Bulgarian language. So if I start speaking Bulgarian, the stuttering may be more visible, more sensible. But in the English, you know, and oddly enough, like you said, I end up being in sales rather than being some chair behind the computer screen and see nobody, talk to nobody, and just pushing the buttons. I decided to do whatever is the worst thing to do for somebody who is stuttering, you know, to expose myself out there. So don't be afraid. I mean, you got to do what you're afraid of to do just to conquer that fear. It did help me to overcome the sense of not being able to express myself fully. You know, it just it gives me some more confidence. And yes, there's the individuals out there that behind your back, maybe they could laugh a bit, but hey, what is that compared to a 99% out there, which will be more sympathetic to you,
Mhm.
and it will listen to what you have to say.
So some of the things you're saying to yourself then to help you overcome the anxiousness of working through this, because it's scary, right?
Mhm.
Knowing what are people going to think is that self-talk. You're telling yourself it's better to conquer your fear, is what I'm understanding you saying,
Yeah.
right? You have to go and conquer your fear. So probably if you've heard that many times said by successful people, or I mean, I know I've heard it, and I've heard it from many successful people. You've got to go out there and do what you're fearful of. You got to conquer your fear. Where have you heard that message in your life?
For the first time, I listened that at the movie Gladiator.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't think that I was doing exactly the same. I was going out and I was talking to people, and I was not even thinking about it, that they will see that I'm stuttering and they will take me some other way. No, I was just going straight forward. So I didn't really care whether they're gonna laugh or not. I was just there to pass my message through, and that was it.
Well, it's amazing how many things you've pushed through. I mean, even just Stephanie, your wife,
Yeah.
you shared with me how when you did get together and you fell in love with her, that her family didn't want you to be part of the family, but you pushed through that. You and her together moved through that. It actually moved away, right?
I was very persistent, and I really was surprised of myself, just like I was surprised of myself that I did very well in the sales business, in the insurance business, because I had no clue of selling anything or convincing anyone or whatsoever. It just happened, and I discovered something in me that I was able to help a lot of people out there with what I do, and the power that is embedded in me with that license and with this kind of plans that we're promoting out there.
So persistence is definitely one of the important things that you use. Persistency is one of the things that you used to help you move from one level to the next. I mean, even with the fear, right? You were persistent. That sounds like, I mean, hearing your story and a little bit of the background story that I know of you, you persisted with your stuttering. You persisted with a girlfriend whose parents weren't for you guys getting married. You were persistent. You moved country to country. You shared with me offline how you moved from a couple different countries, and you had to learn the language, not only stuttering, but you learned a couple of languages in
Well, right
addition.
now I know I was counting last time. I know 7 languages or languages just because I've been using it throughout the years.
7 languages.
7.
7. Wow. And that persistency that you used for the stuttering, you used it in the other parts of your life. I remember you saying you were a refugee too. You had to move
Yes.
to start from scratch, and you came here and you're doing very well in the sales industry, in the insurance field. What is it that made you persistent? You had to find something in you that helped you to keep getting up every time you got knocked down.
I'm afraid from being a failure. And I didn't know that until the moment when my teacher in school, in the insurance school, said that I'm going to be the biggest failure. Because I couldn't deliver a normal presentation. I couldn't even pass the exam 3 times. And we were recording ourselves, and we had to listen to see if we're doing good presentation. Honestly, I will never buy anything from myself. That's how bad I was. I was doing a presentation at home to my wife and to my nanny. They were cracking, laughing. They were on the floor. They say, "You better find yourself another job." Nobody will buy anything from you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and look what
I think you have a competitive
Oh boy.
spirit though.
So yeah. So oddly enough, the same guy who was raised and born in Canada, Todd Campbell, typical Canadian name. 2 years after he said that I'm going to be the biggest failure, I become his boss. and he couldn't face me in the office. He remembered very well what he said. He said, "You know what? I do apologize. I know what I said back in the days, and against every odds that I could think of, in even my wildest imagination, I never thought that you're going to go that far." And here we come.
Wow, that is great. That is amazing. I encourage families, I encourage parents to, if their kids are going through something, to find someone who's overcome what their child is going through. So if their child has a learning disability, Google famous people who have learning disabilities, because there is a list that goes on and on. Like, for example, Justin Timberlake, he has supposedly ADD and OCD, and then the actor for Harry Potter, Daniel, is dyslexic. Steven Spielberg is a filmmaker, and he was dyslexic too. And he's a huge filmmaker for Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, E.T., and the list goes on and on. But you having this stuttering issue and overcoming and becoming a boss of someone who's not believing that you could even make it in this field. I mean, it's hilarious hearing that your wife is even laughing and saying, let's find something else. But you were persistent. You were persistent.
I never knew that I had it in me. When the knife, it went through the skin and touched the bone, and there is nowhere further to go. That's where the survival instinct starts to kick in, and then you will be amazed. You will never believe that you had it in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't wish to anybody to come to that stage. There's many other ways so they can come to an earlier realization that they have a quality that they can use to be successful in this life and what they do. I wish everybody to find that hot button, something that it will drive them, something that it will make them go further and gain the respect of others.
Mm-hmm. But I think the first thing we need to do too is gain the respect of ourselves, to know that we can achieve more. And by listening to stories, it makes me think. Like I know when I was studying the gifted students, and how to teach gifted students. And I thought to myself, but you know what? We all have a gift inside. We all have so much potential. We all have greatness inside of us. We just have to search. We have to get to know what part of us do we have talent in, because we all have talent in different areas. And really, it's pushing through. It's pushing through. And like you push through to work through your stuttering, so that you can get to a better place. We all can push through something, whatever it is we're going through, to move to a better place. I just hope that parents out there hear your story. We all have so much in us, and we all can move into a direction where we want our life to be. It doesn't matter what circumstances. And our children, if they're going through something, that should not hold them back. I mean, I love hearing victory stories, and that's what I think yours is. Yours is a victory story, right? A story of overcoming. I mean, what a boring story if they're smart and they have great success. No, it's the ones that they've got obstacles to overcome, but they go through their challenges, and they climb up. They climb up that mountain, they achieve. And that's what your story is to me. So we have to find, what is it that moves us? I know appreciation, sometimes, recognition moves people. And so if that is something that moves you, then you put yourself in a place where if you achieve, you'll get recognized. Figure out what pushes you. Really analyze and help yourself to figure out what pushes you. And it looks like competitiveness. You were persistent, but someone has to tell you you can't, and then you decide you can.
Yes, I said, okay, I never remember myself of being a failure ever. So that's why that statement really pushed me beyond what I could do.
Well, I hope everyone listening knows that they're not a failure. Their circumstances not who they are, that they can move through it, just like you moved yourself through it. I mean, becoming the boss of the person who told you wouldn't be able to achieve that field is pretty.
Yeah, that was fun.
Pretty funny, isn't it?
Yeah, wow. Not only that, but being 3 months with the company, and then and then all of a sudden you're invited to the annual gathering together where you have over 2,000 best agents in North America, and then you've been put in the president's table where the only people who have the privileges to sit on that table are the ones that they have done outstanding achievements. All of a sudden, me and my wife are surrounded in that table by the president of the company and the wife and two other families that they've been with the company for 30, 40 years. So I couldn't help but hear those gossips, who's this, nobody knew me. I was only 3 months there.
Wow.
So they stood me up and they put me at the front of everybody and told them that what I did for those 3 months. Everybody stood up and they greeted me with the standing ovations. And that was the nail in the coffin that I said, okay, my place is here. I never been in any other job out there that I've been recognized so much for what I'm doing, and here I am. 27 years later, I'm still in it.
No, that's amazing. That is wonderful. Like, I mean, wow, from stuttering to be in sales and to get to a point where you're so recognized in your field and to achieve it even in a short time when you weren't even able to pass. You said you took the test 3 times just to get into the field, and you were having obstacles then. And that didn't stop you. That didn't hold you down. You know what? I love it, love it, love it. I love hearing stories like that. I love surrounding myself with stories like that. Thank you, Miro, so much. Thank you for joining us here. I hope the parents are hearing this, that they know that it doesn't matter what's happening, what the circumstances is in their child's life, in their own life, for themselves.
And everybody should look at themselves in a mirror every day and say, I love myself. I love myself. It has to start with you first. All the greatness in the world starting from somewhere. And what better way to start from yourself? And then you use that example so your child or your children could look up to you and says, I want to be like dad. I want to be like my mom. I want to be successful. I want to repeat and follow her or his success.
And it's never too late to start to achieve the success that you want. Whatever success is for you, whatever that picture is for you, because it's different for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're 60, if you're 40, if you're 70. You know what? It could start at any time.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
I've heard of people starting a new career and they became successful later in their life. Maybe it was like
Absolutely.
40 or 50. I've heard
Phil
of
Collins.
Who?
Take for example Phil Collins.
Mm-hmm.
He noticed that he can sing at age of 40 something.
Wow.
Right. He was a drummer until that time, and all of a sudden he realized that he can sing and you know the story.
And I love his music. I do love his music.
Yeah.
And just listening to it the other day, he's amazing. He is truly amazing.
Absolutely.
Wow, at that age, I didn't know that. But see, so it's even for the parents out there, this story is not just for your children, it's for you. It's to know that you too don't allow your circumstances to keep you down, because in reality, if you do, your kids are going to allow their circumstances to keep them down. But when they see you overcome, they know that they can overcome whatever comes their way. If they push, if they're persistent, if every time they get knocked down, they get back up. Thank you. Thank you so much, Miro, for being with us and allowing us into your life.
Thank you, Josie. Appreciate being here.
Your story inspires me, and it reminds me to not allow our circumstances to keep us from achieving what we want. That is the message I want our children to hear. We need to share stories of people overcoming. Parents, remember, you make a difference.